2008, that's when I started SilverHammer Surveillance. At SilverHammer, we sold and installed security camera systems for homes and businesses. I also sold and installed smart home equipment for those homeowners trying to create their ultimate smart home. And I was selling smart home stuff way before it was cool to have a smart home, let me tell you. Now, when I started that business, I thought it'd be cool for Teresa and I to have this space. At the time, we lived in the burbs in this residential house. I wanted this cool live workspace where we could have a nice living area, but I could also have an office and a showroom. And so in 2008, we tried to find that space. But that's when the financial crisis was going on in the United States, and it just wasn't a viable time to find a place like that. So we stayed in the burbs until 2012. And then we tried it again. And we actually found two different places that we almost purchased, but both fell through. One fell through because we couldn't get it appraised properly, because Omaha was behind the times at the times on the live workspaces. And then the second place, we were gonna have to start from scratch construction-wise, and it just wasn't cost effective. So we moved on. We got frustrated and we moved on. We decided we're just gonna find a place to live in downtown Omaha and also a different place to work. So I actually opened 3 different showrooms at 3 different times. And then we also lived in 13 different places. This is place number 13 in downtown Omaha. So we had a place to live. I had my showroom, my office, and if you watched the channel at the very beginning, I actually did a lot of videos at my last showroom. But then cancer hit and completely turned my life upside down, diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And we decided that I needed to change my business model, and I basically became a full-time YouTuber, no longer doing local installs and service calls. We're still selling systems across the country and into Canada, but I'm just not doing that stuff locally anymore. When that happened, I didn't need the showroom. And so we just kept our apartment and that was it. But now I'm doing better, and I thought it'd be cool to have a live workspace again. And in my last apartment, you've seen it on the channel, I was just kind of stuck in the corner. And my daughter is the leasing agent in this building, and she just happened to show us this apartment, and bam, I fell in love. So here we are in our new space, and today I'm gonna show you everything in here. You can see the home security wall behind me, little homage to my last showroom. And there is a lot of smart home stuff going on in here, and I'm gonna show it to you. You know, it's very cool. And I'm so excited to share it with all of you. You know, we're on the street. This is the first time we've actually been on the street in Omaha with all this energy. You'll see people walking by, and I've actually had people peeking in the windows because they've been so curious about what's going on in here, and it's been hilarious to watch on my cameras. But now, here we go. We're gonna unveil it, take the curtain off, and I hope you enjoy. What up, everybody? George Langabeer here. Welcome to the BRICKLINE at the Mercantile. That's the name of this building. And my apartment specifically, SilverHammer Studio, that's what we're calling it. But the building's called the BRICKLINE. The at the Mercantile part comes from some of Omaha's history, which is pretty cool. But this is known as one of the most bougie, luxurious apartment buildings in all of Omaha, let alone downtown Omaha. And man, I thought that was pretty cool. I wasn't necessarily looking to move. My daughter's the leasing agent here. I'm always wanting to look at new real estate and cool new places. She said, hey, we got this cool live workspace. You should just come check it out because, you know, you're bored on a Saturday. Why not? We came and looked and bam, I was hooked. I knew we were moving here. And then here we are. It's that simple. So thank you, Delaney, for finding me the perfect place. Finally, we've been searching since 2008. Well, let's talk about this building for a moment. I mean, it's just awesome. We've got some great restaurants here like Memoir, one of the best restaurants in Omaha. We got a really cool bar here. We've got a Southern food place that's really good. We've got a very futuristic, cool bowling alley in this building. We got a ton of amenities. You can get a handyman, you can get your TV mounted, you can get a massage, You've got a personal trainer. This place has a full-blown gym, a resort-style pool. We've got a game room. We've got just, I mean, so much. There's a golf simulator. There's these cool conference rooms. There's work offices. There's little rooms you can go in to make private phone calls. The common areas in this place are just ridiculous. This building is right up my alley, just full of amenities and luxuries. There's smart entrances to the building where you use an app. You got to use a smartphone to get into the mailroom. Just so much cool stuff that was right up my alley, and I'm gonna show it to you room by room. SilverHammer Studio, all my home security stuff in here, all my smart home stuff. And like I said, we're right on the street, and we got people going up and down the street all the time. We're right by two of the biggest parks in Omaha, downtown specifically, and so many people walk by, peeking in the windows. One guy said, "What the F," when he walked by here, just because he looked in here, he's like, "What is going on?" But I'm gonna show it to you. We're gonna start upstairs because this is 2,000 square feet, 2 stories. We've got a living space upstairs, a living space downstairs, and then my studio, which I'm in right now. So let's get to it by starting at the entrance upstairs. All right, here we are at the upper entrance. We've got a lower entrance on the street and this upper entrance. Before I start talking about everything, I wanna say that I'm running this smart home 99% on Apple Home or Apple HomeKit. Anything that wasn't native to Apple Home, I'm using the Starling Home Hub to get in an Apple Home, because now the Starling Home Hub works with everything. Basically, it works with the Google Assistant. When they first started, they were just Nest products, but now it works with everything Google. Now, sadly, the people at Starling, it appears they're going out of business, but they're still supporting existing customers like myself and doing updates and things like that. So I'm gonna use it until the wheels fall off, man, because it's the simplest, cheapest way to get non-Apple Home things into HomeKit. So anyway, that's how I'm running my smart home. Moving on to my tech. All right, this door, we're using a key fob. They're currently working on, because of some of their other properties, they actually have an app, which we get into some of the entrances outside the building and into our mailroom. They're working on actually getting us to operate our lock that way as well. But right now, this lock uses a key fob, which is somewhat smart, because sometimes smart is not just actually in a smart home platform. Sometimes smart is just about being convenient. Then we're moving on to another company that was out of business, now that's back, and that's Brilliant. Every light switch in this apartment is back to Brilliant. If you don't know, I was one of the biggest fans of Brilliant on the planet. I've done several videos on them. I had them in my smart home tours, and then for some reason, right before they went out of business, it kind of went to crap, and we had some problems. And I actually had a customer service representative at Brilliant say that one of my videos might have been somewhat of the downward spiral, and I feel horrible about that. But they are back, and they've made some improvements with their Generation 2 smart displays. And I'm so happy to say these things have been flawless. They've upgraded the display. It's clearer, better resolution, and I've had zero issues with it, and it's back to its old glory. But the Brilliant, you can do so much. You can operate your lights. It's Apple Home compatible, so I can do everything on here with Siri. I've got music, so I've got Sonos in here, which is another story coming up for the rest of the tour. But I've got Sonos, I've got my climate, which is my thermostat. I'm using ECOVACS, which I'll show you in a second. I've got an intercom. There's so much you can do with the Brilliant displays. You've also got your physical controls for your lights. It's got a camera if you want to use it. But I'm so happy Brilliant's back, and I'm so glad that they're back to their old ways of just being so flawless and beautiful. So we've got Brilliant switches everywhere. A single switch, double switch, and then this entire apartment right now is being secured by Eufy Security. This is my keypad. I've also got door contacts on the doors. I've got a smoke detector. I've got a water leak detector. I've got a panic alarm for Teresa when she's here alone. Eufy has gone all in on home security. Not only their cameras, but their new security system, which I'll be doing a video on very soon. They got a new upgraded home base. Eufy's just all about home security right now, and I love that. So this is my keypad, and again, I've got door and window contacts on the doors. And then everywhere you go, you're gonna see these simple human trash cans. It's funny, you know, I was so busy setting this place up because I only gave myself 2 weeks, which is an insane undertaking before I shared it with you and the world. So I had so much going on that I actually had my TVs mounted by somebody. We've got the Nebraska Furniture Mart here, which is just this huge furniture store in Nebraska, and it's actually regional now. They branched out. but they've got a third-party person that came in and mounted my TVs. And he was just so nice, and he kept calling me sir. And he had all these questions, about how high I wanted the TV and all that kind of thing. Then all of a sudden he said, "Hey, sir, why do you have so many trash cans?" Well, because I'm a little bit of a neat freak, and I love me some simple human trash cans. Anyway, so that's basically the entrance. And then to my left, I've got this closet. All right, as I step into this closet, there's just a couple things going on here. Number one, I've got my brilliant switch to control this light. So I can turn it on physically here or off, and I can also use Siri this way and still got the same brilliant controls, which is awesome. And then we are back to the world of having a smart washer and dryer. If you watch the tours at SilverHammer Tower, I had some LG smart washer and dryer, and I miss them so much. It's so nice to be back to the world of smart washer and dryers. I just love getting the alerts on your watch when you've got damp laundry that you left, or how long the cycle is going to make it, or when it's done. It's just so cool to be back in the world of smart appliances, this time with GE. Then over here, to go with my neat freak theme, Mova vacuums. Mova's taken over the world of vacuums. It's a little offshoot of the company Dreamy. In a lot of ways, I think they're making better stuff than Dreamy. We've got their latest stick vacuum and their latest wet dry vacuum. And I'm telling you, I love their stuff, man. I just came from a bunch of Dreamy stuff. That was the last brand I used, and I think I like Mova more. All right, moving slightly over here to the right of the laundry room, I've got my ecobee thermostat. I've talked about this till I'm blue in the face. I actually debated on whether or not to do the ecobee or the newest Google Nest one. I just think the ecobee has the slight edge, especially with their sensors. You put a sensor in each room, it averages out the temperature. I just like the way they work a little bit more than Google's. But this is the ecobee Premium, tried and true, man. I always seem to go back to it. Love that thermostat, and it's been in most of my tours. Then I've got the Bloom Smart Planter. This is a plant that I had existing. I added this planter to it. It's got this smart light, which I can control from the app. I can control the different brightness and temperature of that white light, which is awesome. So it gives you a nice vibe, and it also gives it artificial light to help the plant grow. And then it's got a self-planting mechanism, self-watering mechanism, where you fill that reservoir and it'll actually water the plant for up to a month. It's just a great way for convenience, but that light is cool and just keeps your plant nice and healthy. And I've got a couple of those here on the upper level. Then here I've got my Beatles picture. Now, for those of you that don't know, SilverHammer Studio, SilverHammer Surveillance, the SilverHammer name came from a Beatles song. It's called Maxwell's Silverhammer. My dad was a huge Beatles fan. We actually had a champion field trial dog named Maxwell Silverhammer. That name was just everywhere in my childhood. So I named the business that. It's one of their darker songs. It's actually about a serial killer, which is a little disturbing. But anyway, I just thought this picture perfectly represented their darker side. So we got the Beatles representing the SilverHammer name in here. Then I've got my Mova V50 Ultra. I love this vacuum. I think it's my favorite vacuum that I've tested. I've actually got their newest vacuum downstairs, which I'm also loving. I haven't tried it enough to tell you whether or not I like it more than this, but it's a strong contender. But I'm telling you, Mova is taking over the vacuum world. I love that Robo Vacuum, combination mop, everything you want. Nice small package, looks nice and modern, fits beautifully in here. Love it, love it, love it. Also, before we move on, right above the laundry room door, I have the Eufy E42. This is a 4K pan tilt camera. That is what I'm using for my primary security cameras throughout this place. Really cool camera. But again, the Eufy E42 pan tilt. All right, moving into the kitchen. I've said this before. It's never the most exciting place in a smart home, at least for me, because I am a renter and I don't have smart appliances. We do have the smart washer and dryer, but no smart dishwasher, no smart oven, no smart microwave. But I do have the Revolution smart toaster. And if you've watched my tours or heard me talk about this thing before, it is one of my favorite smart home devices. This is their newest model, which now is actually connected to Wi-Fi. So you can do a little slideshow. It's got the weather. And then just like the older model, you've got your different types of bread and what you're toasting. You can do your different brown levels, so you can select that. You can also tell it whether it's fresh or frozen, and that helps get you the right brownness level. And then you've also got a gluten-free option, which is cool. Teresa uses that. But Teresa and I would both agree this is one of our favorite appliances, or actually smart home devices in this entire place, is our toaster. We've got this brilliant switch right here. This is a single switch. They actually had this light strip existing. So I made it smart with Brilliant. So I can now control that existing light strip with Siri. And then of course it's got all the other features as Brilliant as well. And then I can also do the same thing with the island light and the overhead lights as well. So it's all controlled with Brilliant. These were all existing lights that are now smart thanks to Brilliant. All right, and I've said it already once before, but smart home's not always about cool gadgets. Sometimes it's about convenience, and that's what Simple Human is. I've got their smart paper towel dispenser. It's got a cleaning solution right in the middle. I can just spray that. You can see I use it all the time. It's almost empty. I need to refill it, but I love that thing. I've got their soap dispensers, and then we've got this nice big island with their trash cans on both sides. All right, then across from the island, we've got this closet here, and in here, I've got my Dream 7 router from Unify. Now, I put a poll on YouTube asking people if I should stick with my old Orbi router or if I should switch to Unify, because so many people are just obsessed with Unify and drinking that Kool-Aid, man. I've tried it a couple different times and I had some problems in my old place, but I gotta say, I'm using that and the Express 7s in 2 different places, forming a mesh system, and it's working quite nicely. So again, Dream 7, Express 7s, that's how I'm running my smart home as far as Wi-Fi goes. All right, and then right next to the closet where I have the Dream 7 is our upstairs bathroom. We've got 2 bathrooms in this place, one downstairs and one upstairs. Now, unfortunately, the one downstairs has a toilet and a urinal, which is the first time I've ever had a urinal, which I'm so excited about, but it does not have a bathtub or a shower. So Teresa and I both have to use this bathroom, and if you've watched my tours before, I always say I've never been able to wrap my brain around people that share a bathroom, but Teresa and I are now forced to do so. And it's been interesting. I gotta say she's a pretty good bathroom roommate, but I never thought it would happen, but it's happening. Now, it's got a noisy fan in there, so I'm not gonna walk in there, but I'm gonna show you with some B-roll here. When you walk in, you've got a Brilliant switch, so I can control the light, obviously physically with the switch, and then I can also use Siri. I've got an LG C5 48-inch TV, that's an OLED TV, and with my Sonos Beam, that's a 2nd generation Sonos Beam in here. So I've got that set up. 48 inches might be a little overkill for a bathroom, but overkill is my middle name. I've got my HomePod in here. I've got HomePods in every room in this apartment, controlling my smart home. And then I've also got, speaking of Nova vacuums, they also have a really awesome smart toothbrush that I've been using and I love. And then you're also gonna see Anker chargers everywhere. I'm a big fan of Anker and their portable chargers and their 3-in-1 chargers. So I've got that in here. But that's pretty much the extent of the bathroom. So we've got the TV, the soundbar, the HomePod, smart toothbrush, and the Brilliant. All right, then right off the kitchen, we have what I call the lounge. I just wanted a cool spot to hang out when Teresa's cooking and I wanted to watch TV. In the lounge, I've got the 65-inch C5 OLED from LG. All the TVs in here are C5s in various sizes. I love their OLEDs. Nobody does OLEDs like LG. This is a smart TV. Now, even though it's a smart TV, I do like the Apple TV interface more. So I've got an Apple TV 4K behind it, also to control my smart home in conjunction with my HomePod, which I have in every room. But I love, love, love their TVs. And the C5 stands for 2025, so this is their newest model. For sound for my TV, and with the Sonos Beam 2 up here, with the Sonos Mini Sub, if I'm gonna watch TV, might as well sound good in every room. Sonos versus HomePods, Sonos versus HomePods. I'm famous for that insanity. So right now I'm sticking with Sonos for my TV sound, HomePods for my multi-room audio. Sonos used to be so great for multi-room audio. For some reason, I find that it's gone to crap. I've got 6 of their speakers in here, and if I go more than 2, I start to have connection issues. So I stick with Sonos most of the time just for TV, and then the HomePods for my music. But I do love the fact that the Sonos is on my Brilliance. So once in a while, if I just want to do 2 speakers, one up, one down, I use the Sonos with my Brilliant displays, which I have another one right across from me, which is what I keep looking at. So HomePods, Sonos, and then I've got this guy. Eufy going all in on home security this year, and I love it. This little smart display for your security cameras from Eufy. You can see live, you can see past footage. This is portable. It's got the stand when it's not in its charging stand, which is awesome. Now, overkill is my middle name, so I have these in almost every room. But if you just wanted to do one and carry it around with you, you sure could. It's like a little mini tablet. Great resolution on this thing. So beautiful that it's portable. And again, I can't say enough about how much Eufy's going in on home security, and I love it. Then I've got my Dyson air purifier / fan. Yes, in Apple Home, I could have gone native, but I like Dyson more. And with the Starling Home Hub, I now have that in Apple Home just like it was native. Then I've got the Bloom planters on both sides of me, just like I showed you in the corner. I love those things. We've got a Black & Decker wine fridge. I said several tours ago, somebody pissed me off in one of my tours way back when and said I didn't know how to store my wine. I got this wine fridge to shut them up. It's made several moves. I've talked about this before, but there it is. Another thing that's made several moves is that Keurig Smart coffee maker. That is the smart version where you can control it with the app. We've had that for a while. Love that thing. Teresa uses it all the time. I'm not a coffee guy, but Teresa loves it. Then the Vigo, much like the Revolution Smart Toaster, one of the surprising sleeper smart devices that Teresa and I love. When it comes to food scraps, you know, I'm a huge neat freak, germaphobe. I got to get rid of those food scraps. Now, normally as a renter, especially in downtown Omaha, there's not many apartments that have garbage disposals. The BRICKLINE has them, which I love, but I don't want to destroy that thing. I think a lot of the times they don't have them because maintenance has such issues with them. So I don't want to be one of those guys that breaks my garbage disposal. So when it comes to big food scraps, they're going in that Vigo. And if you have a house, that's a great way to help save the earth. You can recycle your food scraps into your garden or into existing plants. I just love that thing to death. And I did a video on it, didn't perform very well, which is a shame because more people should know about the Vigo. Then I've got these Philips Hue gradient desk lamps. I've got these all over the place, and also the gradient floor lamps you'll see everywhere. It has that nice effect. You can't see it right now during the day, but I'm using the Tokyo effect, which is a gradient effect. They look so cool at night. The floor lamps too. I put these in here because Teresa wanted some lighting during the day or in the morning when she gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but didn't want to turn on all these lights because there's a window in our bedroom and she'd wake me up. So I put these there. Then I put it in an automation where they change from white for her to these gradient during the day. So it's a great way to use an automation, but I love, love, love the Philips Hue lamps. And everything in here that's not a normal light is Philips Hue. So all my additional lamps, except for 2 Dyson lights, which we'll talk about downstairs, but I should say 99% of all my lights is Philips Hue or native with Brilliant. But that is the lounge. All right, moving into the bedroom. As you walk in, you know, I talked about it being Philips Hue or Brilliant. I do have one more switch that's not either of those things, and that's a TP-Link Costa switch. And that's because I had the switch in here that controlled both the fan and the light. And I didn't want both to come on at the same time, which is what I would have had to do with Brilliant. So I got that switch that separates them. And that is Apple Home compatible natively. So I can control the fan and this light dimmer from Apple Home with that TP-Link switch. Then I've got another C5 OLED from LG. Again, a 65-inch, another HomePod. And throughout the house, I've got the Ecobee sensors. Again, great way to average out the temperature on your thermostat. Again, I'm using the Sonos Generation 2. I do not have the Sub Mini in the bedroom because most of the time I'm using my headphones, my AirPods to watch TV in here because I'm usually doing it at night when Teresa's sleeping. Then I've got another one of those Eufy smart displays for my camera system in the bedroom. Again, I said that I pretty much have them in every room. I've got another Simple Human trash can in here. And then over there, I've got the Express 7 mesh from Unify. I've got my iPad Pro 11-inch, which I use for the upper level. I use a 13-inch iPad Pro on the lower level. Yeah, I've got an iPad for each level. Overkill is my middle name. I've got the Philips Hue desk lamps on our little end tables there, and then some Anker chargers. And then I believe that's pretty much it for the, oh no, I do have a motion detector. It's part of my Eufy security system in here, which I primarily use when we're away. And then I do have a Brilliant light switch on Teresa's closet, which I'm going to go ahead and show you because in past tours, you know, you'll see something about my shoe collection. It's one of my favorite parts of this apartment. But in this apartment, Teresa inherited some of my old shoe boxes, and now you can see that she's got a pretty decent shoe collection. But again, in that closet, it's smart thanks to Brilliant. Oh yeah, and last but not least, I have another Dyson air purifier fan, again, in Apple Home, using the Starling Home Hub. All right, moving downstairs. Again, we've got my studio down here, and we've also got some more living area. All right, as we get to the bottom of the stairs, we have a little reception area here. And all the different plants I have in here are from Easy Plant, every one on the first floor. Easy Plant's a great place online that you can buy a bunch of plants when you need them. They've got a great selection, small, big, low light, lots of light, whatever it may be. They ship them very well. They were packed very nicely. They've been flourishing since they got here. They got these cool planters that are self-watering. You water them once and they're good. So in that way, they're very smart because again, sometimes it's about convenience. But I've been very happy with my experience from Easy Plant. I've got my E42 camera here, kind of watching the front area. We've got a ton of cameras behind the camera there, which we'll talk about in a second. But I just love the fact that we're part of the city. This is the first time that I've had a studio that's really breathing with the city. Two very popular parks right next to us, Heartland of America and Gene Leahy. We've got the Old Market, which is just a very famous area in downtown Omaha. And there's just a ton of people there all the time. So I've had a lot of street traffic, and I just feel like I'm really part of the city. Funny story, across the street used to be the Sweet 98 radio station here in Omaha when I was a young man. And you could see the disc jockey through that window over there. And I remember being downtown and seeing that and thinking that was cool. And now I think it's cool that people are gonna be able to look in here and see me filming my videos. But anyway, I think that's pretty sweet. So yeah, camera there. I've got a Eufy doorbell outside. I've got a Eufy alarm panel down here as well. So we've got that. We've got a couple cool posters down here from a company called Displate. And that's one of my boy Steve Jobs. So that's the first thing you see when you walk in. I love, love, love that piece. I've got another brilliant display right here on the wall. The blinds up above are smart. I'm working on getting the lower ones smart. They were natively when we got in here. There's a switch up on the wall in the lounge. So you can control those. I find myself just leaving this open a lot because again, I want to be part of the city and I love that vibe. So now I'm going to turn the camera around and show you what's over there. All right, moving to the other side of the front door, a little bit down the window row here. We got what I call the camera museum. We've got a Cara, the G5. We've got the Alibi camera. This is my most popular Alibi camera that we sell every day. This is the PT80 LUAIS. We've got the Reolink. We've got another Alibi Bullet. We've got the Nest, the good old Google Nest, another Alibi camera, and then one from Tapo that I just did a review on. And then on the other side of me, we got the famous stoplight. And this has been in several of my videos. It's very important to me as a cancer survivor. This was my aunt's backyard when I was a kid. At the time, it was faded green. I inherited it. It's very special to me because she's also a cancer survivor. Been kicking breast cancer's ass for like 12 years now. But I painted it black, put Philips Hue in there to make it smart. And so that's been awesome. And then the stand was welded for me by Teresa's brother. We lost Teresa's brother to a very rare form of cancer. You know, he was very special to the whole family and just a huge, huge loss. And we miss him every day. We love you, Bobo. But yeah, this is very special. And he welded that with a lot of love for me. And both these pieces are just very special. So now let's move to the camera wall. All right, so here we go. Again, what's behind me is kind of an homage to my last showroom. I had a display like that there. I missed that place, had a lot of fun there. Lots of great memories there, but life moves on. And here we go, our new chapter. So here we go, we got some cameras going on here. These are all active. We got a Tapo camera here, solar camera. This is a Reolink camera. This is a dual lens PoE camera that I'll be doing a review on very soon. This is Alibi's most recent active deterrent camera. So it's the active deterrent version of that dome that I just talked about, strobes and sirens and all that stuff. This is the Eufy S4 PoE. I just did a review on that and their new NVR, so check that out. That's the Unify G5 PTZ. I do have the Unify G6 actually coming later today, so that's going to be switched out to that. I've been trying some of their other G6 cameras, and they're fine. If you know me, my biggest problem with Unify is they say all their cameras are professional grade, and they're not. They're just not. That's a story for another day. But this camera's been pretty cool, and I'm sure I'll love the new one. The G6s are pretty sweet too. There's just some things that I wish Unify could do to improve. All right, I got another C5 OLED from LG. Again, this is a 65-inch with an Apple TV 4K behind it. Some more Philips Hue desk lamps. Again, the gradient lamps. another Sonos Beam Generation 2. Then I'm going to get down below here in a second. Over here, we've got Hue play bars lighting up these shelves. Then I got another HomePod, AirPods Max. This is called the Kaleido Clock. This thing's been getting a lot of attention on the street. And again, one of the sleeper smart devices that Teresa and I just thought was cool, but we really love it. You know, I can't show you all of them, but this thing cycles through so many different displays. It's so sweet. I've got the sound off right now, but it actually does a kind of like a grandfather clock sound when you want it to. But it just looks nice and stylish. The display is very vibrant. And again, all the effects on this thing are so sweet. My Apple Vision Pro lives there. Just some plants and stuff down below, no big deal there. Then I've got the Reolink Hub Pro down there. And then here I've got 4 NVRs. I've got the Alibi NVR that we pretty much sell on a daily basis. If you call me on the phone, that's what I'm going to tell you about. A Reolink NVR, the Eufy, that's the new NVR they just came out with that I just did a review on. I'm actually very impressed with that NVR for the price. Then down below, again, for all you Unify people, I'm giving them love. That's their new NVR right there, and I'm actually pretty impressed with that. I do like it a lot, so I've got that representing in here. I'm looking forward to just continuing to test that because that's the newest addition to my camera family. But so far, so good. Let's see what else. Over here, we've got AirPods Max, HomePod. This is very special to me. These are custom-made Air Force Ones made for me by Alibi Security. I don't work for them. I'm not sponsored by them. But I've had a great relationship with them for a long time just because they've always taken care of me. They're great people in Austin, Texas. And just the fact that they knew that I love Nike shoes, because I'm going to show you some Nike in a second. But they made this for me and sent this to me. It's so special to me. So proudly on display right here in the studio. Then I've got the latest edition of the MacBook Pro. That's the 16-inch. And I got that sucker fully loaded. Down below, we've got some stuff from Grid Studio. That's the Apple iPhone 4S. That's the first iPhone with Siri. That's why it's special to me. Grid Studio makes some great stuff, not just Apple products, but all sorts of different devices that they break down, put a cool story on there in this beautiful display. I think you see Grid Studio in a lot of YouTubers, but I've had that for a long time, so I'd like to think I was one of the first. But anyway, so that's from Grid Studio. Behind this, I have a Unify switch, which is running all my smart home devices that are run with PoE. So I do have Unify here because I will never argue about Unify's networking because that's always been top notch. It's the cameras I sometimes have a problem with. I have my other Express 7 router there. And by the way, anytime I've ever said I've had problems with Unify's Wi-Fi, I think it's because I've always been in an apartment and I can't go full blown with their cloud gateways. I've always had to use something like their Dream 7 router and the Expresses. So maybe if I could get more robust, I would never have an issue with their networking. But for the most part, you know, I can't deny that their networking is great. And so far here, it's been working flawlessly, knock on wood. Up there, I've got another E42 from Eufy. That's another 4K. Like I said, I'm using that in pretty much as my normal security cameras in this place at the moment, just because I can't run cables all over this place. I don't own this building. I can't put Cat 5, Cat 6 all over the place. So I got to go Wi-Fi. And right now, that's my favorite. Up there, I've got the S4 version, or it's the Wi-Fi version of this camera right here, which I'm testing and I'll be doing a review on very soon. That's brand new from Eufy. Got the solar panel, and I'm trying to prove that you can use the solar panel inside successfully. And so far, because of this window access, it's been working great. So that's what I've got going on here. Let's talk about my unboxing table, which is right over here. All right, this is another thing I didn't know I'd be so excited about that I'm totally excited about now that it's here, and that's having this unboxing area. My last apartment, I was unboxing on the kitchen island, and it was not ideal at all. So to have this area, not only to unbox, but just have a workspace. I've got my iPad Pro 13-inch here. I've got these Logitech mice that control my NVR over there. I've got my remotes here. I've got some Anker chargers. I've got this awesome cardboard cutter, which has changed my life. We're breaking down boxes. If you live in an apartment, you know what I'm talking about. I've got my Eufy smart display. We talked about that already. I got another one of those down here. Again, I pretty much got those in every room. I've got these awesome Dyson desk lamps. You can change the color temperature. You can change the brightness. They swing out like this. They're awesome for displaying a product. And then I can fold them up and they just turn into these really cool decorative lamps in Dyson fashion. They just look classy. They look awesome. Again, they're the only things that made the cut away from Philips Hue and brilliant. But I love, love, love those things. And they work perfectly for this area. I've got my Sonos Ace. Yeah, I've got AirPods Max. But I do have the Sonos Arc Ultra over there. And you can just switch these instantly when you're watching, something with Dolby Atmos. I like that. But let's be real. The AirPods Pro 3, they're freaking fantastic. And I think the reason they're not updating the AirPods Max is because they don't have to, because the AirPods sound so good now. So I've got those. I've also got the new Beats, Power Beats Fit, which also sound great. I don't know, Apple's knocking it out of the park with those two headphones here lately. But once in a while, I do use the Sonos Ace. Then I've got my James brand knife collection. People give me crap because sometimes I'm unboxing with some pretty hardcore knives. I just love their knives. I've got a nice collection of them and this cool little collector's box. So that's cool. I've got my little, I can't test smart locks on my doors here. I just can't. That's the one thing that I can't do here. So my boy, Shane Watley, my YouTube brother, 3D printed this for me. And I want to thank him for that. Sent this to me and I'll be using that to test smart locks. I got an ecobee sensor there. But again, this is just kind of my little YouTube command center. I've got some storage underneath here where I've got some of my camera equipment, some more storage there. But again, something I didn't think I'd be excited about, but I love, love, love. OMG, stop the presses. I almost forgot the star of the show, at least when it comes to people walking by on the street, and that is the ECOVACS WinBot 2 Pro OMNI. This is their newest window cleaner. You can take it inside or outside because it's portable. You can plug it in or you can use the battery power. I'm going to show it to you here in action. As a neat freak, it's just so awesome to be able to clean my windows inside and out. And not only that, but just draw some attention from people on the street. People have been so curious about it. It has worked flawlessly. I never have to worry about it falling off. I think ECOVACS does this better than anybody else. It's got a remote control. I had one time where it got stuck in between the blinds and the window way up top, and I'm like, oh my God, how am I gonna get down? Then I just snapped it in the remote control and backed it out, no problem. But again, it's been hilarious to watch people watch this thing. I wish it was nicer out so we could draw a crowd, because I guarantee you it would. All right, moving on as we transition from the studio into the living room. In between, I've got the Dyson Big and Quiet. I believe it's the PM04 is the model. It's an air purifier and fan. It's their top of the line air purifier. It is a little large, but if you have room for it, I think this is the best air purifier you can buy. You can control all these Dyson air purifier fans on the Dyson app, and then using the Starling Home Hub, I also have them in Apple Home. Also, without the Starling Home Hub, you can use Siri shortcuts with these Dyson devices. But this is the Big and Quiet, and even though it's a little large, I love it. All right, let's talk living room. Can I just tell you how nice it is to have a 2,000 square foot apartment compared to our last one, which was 1,100 square feet? Gives me more room to roam, man. We can have this big sectional in our living room, nice coffee table, or nice little Easy Plant there. I love Easy Plant. And then I've got my 83-inch C5 LG OLED. Again, nobody does OLED like LG. For sound, I've got the Arc Ultra from Sonos, paired with two subs. That's the latest generation sub. Matte black, looks great with this entertainment center. And yes, I've got a stereo paired set of HomePods, but that Arc Ultra, those subs, and my Era 300s, which is my surround sound, are the reason I will probably keep Sonos this time, because despite all the other issues, it just sounds so killer, and those HomePods cannot touch the rest of this Sonos setup. Just can't do it. They sound great, but that's not with the subs and the Era 300s, forget about it. All right, so then I got some more Easy Plants there. I've got my Philips Hue gradient floor lamps flanking the subs. And then I've got an Apple TV 4K behind this television. And now I'm just going to show you Teresa's little office area here. That's next. All right, this is Teresa's workstation. She's got the Secret Lab Magnus desk, Secret Lab Titan chair. I have the same thing over there. I've done videos on this before. Love these desks, love these chairs. HP Smart Printer with AirPrint compatible. You can use it with your iPhone, tablet, whatever. We've got these cool posters from Displate, just like the Steve Jobs one when you walk in. These are our three favorite cities, Chicago, Omaha, and Miami. These posters are fantastic. We've got another Eufy E42 pan tilt camera as far as security, another simple human trash can, and then I'm not going to go in there again because of the fan, but this is my bathroom, complete with a self-flushing urinal, which I just think is so cool for some reason. I bought some urinal cakes before we moved in here, and that was just one of my favorite purchases ever for some reason. Anyway, there's a HomePod in there. We've got another displate poster, which actually they had my tattoo, which is awesome. So that's in there. And then I've got another Mova toothbrush that I use in there and some more simple human stuff. Oh, actually I also have a brilliant smart control for that light, so I can use that with our favorite voice assistant. But that's pretty much it in that bathroom. Moving back here, we've got my spot for my bikes, and I'm gonna call them smart bikes because they're e-bikes. This is the Ford Mustang e-bike. We've got a his and hers. Now, I've got an interesting history with this bike because right after I got it, I got in a horrible accident on it and broke my clavicle in a few different places, which a lot of you know, 2 ribs, but I'm back on the horse, enjoying that bike, and they're awesome. I'm a Ford guy. You see my Raptor outside. I got my Mustang in the parking garage. Now 2 Ford Mustang bikes. Love, love, love these bikes. Just off from the bikes, we have another display poster. This is the Think Different, Here's to the Crazy One speech, also tattooed on my arm. The speech changed my life back in the day when I first heard it, inspired me to start SilverHammer Surveillance. Thanks Steve Jobs for that. That's why he's got a special place in this apartment. Right down here is the newest vacuum from Mova. This is the Z60 Ultra Roller, and just got this vacuum, so I'm just getting to start to use it. We'll see if it beats the one upstairs. Lots of great features though already that I'm loving. But again, I want to give myself a little more time with it. I'm going to be doing videos on both these vacuums, and then eventually I think I'll do a comparison between the two, because again, I really think the Mova is taking over the world, man. They really are. All right, I was saying the ECOVACS WinBot is the star of the show for people on the street. For me, the star of the show of this apartment is behind me. And I want to thank Teresa for helping me make this happen and allowing it to happen. But basically, this room was so huge, we don't like sharing closets. We have to share a bathroom now, but we don't want to share a closet. It's just not something that we do. So she's got the master bedroom closet. So we had to rack our brains on how I could make a closet with the area behind this wall. And what better way to make a fake wall, but with my 108 pairs of Nike. Now, I actually have more than this in some baskets, which I'll show you my closet in a second. But this is 108 pair of Nikes in my living room. Now, I would have loved to do the nano-leaf display boxes that all light up, but I couldn't afford that, man. That would have been insanely expensive. So I went with these shoe boxes and used Philips Hue to light them up a little bit. I've got the floor lamps on both sides, gradient again. I've got some play bars up there, and then their gradient tube up in the middle. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of this sucker. And I want to keep in mind, I want you to keep in mind that if you watch the channel, you know that I used to be an Adidas guy. I just switched to Nike a couple years ago. So this 108 pairs, this is just a couple years in. So yeah, I've got my alibi pair over there, but the rest of them, minus a few that are in this closet, right here. And for me, the star of the show. Go handheld here for a minute for my closet. Start myself a new Ray-Ban collection here. And then I've got my 12 South Apple Watch display. You could see this in my last 2 apartments. Some more Grid Studio. That's the Apple Watch. And then we got a normal closet in here, which I just have my jackets and stuff. And then we made this makeshift closet for me. So you can see I've got more shoes. There's some in the baskets on top. Organization freak. You got a basket for each type of clothes. Everything in here on the racks is Nike. And then up here, I've got my hats. And then I've also got 2 Philips Hue Go lamps lighting this up. And I've got those on automations to light it up at the right times. And then up here, I've got a little unified G6 Instant. Yes, I do have a camera in my closet. Before we move on to my workstation, how about I say, hey, Nike, how about a sponsorship? You think? I think I might be one of your biggest supporters, just saying. Anyway, here's my workstation. I've got the Magnus sit and stand desk. So this is motorized, I can lift it if I want to. I also have the Titan chair. You know, Teresa's got the smaller versions. I've got the bigger versions. Simple human trash can. I've got 3 of the Mac Studio displays. I've got a Mac Studio fully loaded, some Anchor chargers, some more displate posters. I thought these were really cool. We got the Apple II, we got the iPod and the iPhone. These posters are cool, give it a little history. Kind of like Grid Studio in a way, but in the metal poster format. And then I just got miscellaneous cables and stuff like that in these baskets. But that is my workstation. All right, let's round it out with our little tchotchke shelf. This is our personal items here. Couple things of note. Number 1, Angry Young Man Fooling Yourself. Delaney got this for me. The song has special meaning for me in my cancer battle. The lyrics of that song just really motivated me a lot. If I plug this in, it lights up different colors. You can scan the code. It takes you right to Spotify. Bill Downs, who's a dude at Alibi who helped me get started with my business, gave me a chance as one of their dealers when nobody needed to give me a chance. He made me one of these, Langevere Fight Club. That's a term we used in my cancer battle. I put this on a motorcycle jacket also. He gave me several of them, but we've got that sitting here. Thank you, Bill Downs. I appreciate that. Teresa made me a makeshift Grid Studio on the iPad Nano. Really cool that Teresa took the initiative to do this for me. Has the history of the iPad Nano. Really cool to have that from the wife. 2023, I got Alibi Security Strategic Partner of the Year. So I proudly display this. That was really cool. Basically, their Dealer of the Year. I don't work for them. I'm not sponsored by them. I just had a great relationship with them. And just like I said with Bill Downs, they gave a guy a start. I'm a loyal dude, and that means a lot to me. And so does this award. My dad was an Elvis impersonator, so much so that at Kansas City Chief games in Arrowhead Stadium, he would impersonate Elvis. Got a little notoriety for it. They put him on the news a couple times. These are his Elvis glasses that I got after he passed away. So they sit here proudly as well. And then just some other tchotchkes. Teresa made this for me for our anniversary. So that's very special for me. It's basically the history of our relationship in a book. But yeah, that's how we're going to end this thing. Let's go back in the studio and wrap it up. All right, that's it. What do you think? Where would you rank this in all the different places we've lived? I know a lot of you have seen every single place on the channel. Check out my Smart Home Tour playlist if you haven't already. It's got them all on there, and there's been a lot. But I'd love to know what you think. I'm sure there's stuff I'm leaving out here. This video would be way too long if I went into everything. So I hope you enjoyed it. I am so excited to live here. I'm so excited to have a YouTube channel space again, like a studio dedicated, not just the corner of my apartment. That brings me joy. So a lot of content I'll be cranking out of here. I've got a lot of videos planned already, and I'm very excited to get them out to the world. So I want to thank you for your support. I want to thank you for sticking around on this long tour. But your love and support means everything to me, not only from the channel, but personally, my cancer battle, everything I've been through. This is an exciting new chapter, and I'm excited to have you along for the ride. So until the next video coming very soon, peace and love.